guys, I was gone for like a week and winter hit. This is what happened. It was like minus 20 degrees last night, which is in the minuses in Fahrenheit also. I don't know how Fahrenheit works, by the way. It's weird. But it was really, really cold. And I don't really like winter that much. The only really good thing about it is snowboarding. I love snowboarding. And maybe Christmas. I like Christmas with snow around. It just feels right. But man, that's one of the few things that I don't really like that much about living in Canada. All right, let's get inside before I freeze to death. And today is a great day, and one of the reasons is because of this guy, iPhone X, whatever it's called. Actually, it arrived like a week ago, which is a lot later than most people got it. But I needed a new phone, so I decided to get this guy because I'm just used to Apple products. And I'm a little bit skeptical, but I'm hoping this thing's good. Let's see, maybe I'll post a review later on once I've used it for a bit. But let's unbox this thing. By the way, do you guys like this unbox therapy style thing? All right, let's do this. Alrighty. Whew, nice and fresh. I really feel like this thing should come with the AirPods. That's what they're called, right? AirPods, not earpods. AirPods. I really feel like it should ship with those. I think that's a bit of a money grab. Let's take off the plastic here. How do we turn this thing on? There's no home button. Guessing this button. There we go. We got something. Hello. By the way, I like this that they're a little bit charged so you can actually do this stuff right away and not have to, you know, charge your phone first. I hated that back in the day when you'd open up something new and then it wasn't charged. You had to wait to charge it first and then, yeah, that was annoying. Face ID. This is one of the things I'm pretty skeptical of, but let's see how it works and especially how it's gonna be actually using it day to day. Let's do this. All right, moving the head around. Done. Scan is complete. Let's put in a password. I'm not gonna show you guys. I'm gonna set this thing up as a new phone. I'm gonna start clean, only put in the apps and stuff that I actually use and want. Boom. First off, I gotta say this screen looks really good. And I never liked the iPhone Pluses, the really big ones. I had the smaller one, but this is a good size. It's almost basically the same size as my 6S, but the screen is bigger, so it's like a really nice bonus. You keep the size down, but you get a nice big screen. And lately, I've actually been really skeptical of Apple. I think Apple's kind of gotten mixed up. I think companies do this a lot. They forget that they're about making products. Apple is about making good iPhones and computers and then money. But I feel like lately they've kind of flipped that around and now they're about making money and kind of making products on the side. And eventually that always catches up with you and you start coming down. And I actually think that Apple won't be on top for too much longer unless they completely switch it up again and they start being about making good products and then making money. Businesses, yes, they have to make money, but first and foremost, you need to focus on your product. And I feel like they've kind of been, you know, a little bit lazy with that and been focusing more on how they can make more money. For example, this whole thing that the AirPods don't come with this. I think they should come with this thing. You're paying a bunch of money for this already. So that's a lesson for all of us. Always focus on your product first. The money will come later, but as soon as you start just focusing on the money, your product starts going down and eventually start going down. We kind of plateau and you start going downhill. Focus on making good content, good product. That is gonna get you really far. And I think I got some accessories for this thing. I got a box here. Yeah, there we go. And of course my trusty knife. So we got a bunch of cases for this thing. More in here. How many? Whoa, wow. That's a lot of stuff. All right, so these are cases by Rhino Shield. They make some different cases for the iPhone X. And actually they also make some lenses, which is pretty interesting. I'm curious to see how good these things are. What's a good color in here? I don't know what's going on. What is all this stuff? This looks like my color. I like black. So that's like the back case. You can add, I get this. Okay, so there's a bunch of different bumpers and backs and you can kind of interchange them. So there's a red bumper and some different backs. So here's a white one. Here's kind of a black one with this interesting design. That's pretty interesting. Whoa. So you can even modify and change the actual buttons and completely customize this. So you can have different bumpers, different backs, different buttons. You can completely customize this. That's actually pretty cool. I like that. And if you're into customizing, this Rhino Shield thing might be your thing. And let's check out some of these lenses we got here. So first off, fisheye lens. So these are definitely a lot smaller than the Moment lenses. So I'm curious to know how good these are. I don't really have time to test them out, but a very interesting whole ecosystem here. Thanks for sending all this. But the big reason why today is such a great day is, well, because another package showed up, and it's the 6D Mark II. You might be saying you already have one of these. Well, actually, I had it on loan, but I guess Canon liked the review so much that I did of this camera that they sent me my very own one, which is really nice of them. I really like the guys at Canon Canada. They're just really good people. I really appreciate everything they do. And I'm super happy that they sent me a 6D Mark II, which is what I'm actually filming with right now. This is actually, I think, the best YouTube vlogging camera there is right now. And I have a feeling some other very big YouTubers will soon be using this camera. You heard it here first. I'm pretty sure some other people are gonna be using this guy. I honestly think this is the best YouTube camera. In no means is it the best camera, but it is one of the best, if not the best camera for YouTube filmmaking. This kind of filmmaking where you need to film yourself. This camera is super good. And going back to the whole mobile filmmaking versus DSLR filmmaking, a lot of people might be saying, why would I ever want to buy a camera like this? My phone already does 4K video, it does slow motion, it does so much. Why would I ever buy a DSLR that only does photo and video? That's it. Doesn't have all these apps and can't go on the internet and do all this other stuff on it. Well, you're never gonna be able to get the same kind of look out of a phone as you can with a DSLR. And there's a bunch of different factors for that. First off, of course, is just the video quality. The bit rates on DSLRs is always going to be higher. So every single frame of that 24, 60, or whatever frames per second you're filming is going to be a higher quality frame than something like on this iPhone. It's still really high quality and super surprising, but it's not quite the same as a DSLR. Not all 1080 is the same and not all 4K is the same. It depends what bitrate it's recording at, and that's gonna kind of figure out what the quality of that 1080 or the quality of that 4K is. It's a little bit confusing, but DSLRs definitely have the one up on phones with that. And also, they're just so much better in low light. Low light, you can't even compare phone versus DSLR. DSLRs are just so much better with low light situations. Also, the sensor size is just so much smaller in a phone than a DSLR that it's never gonna look the same. That's one of the big reasons why I like the 6D Mark II is that it's a full frame sensor. That means it's a really big size sensor. And the look is just really nice. You get this nice shallow depth of field like this. Notice how my face is in focus, but the background is all blurred out. And that's even on a really wide angle lens right now. I think I'm at 18 mil right now, and it's still getting that nice shallow depth of field, whereas with the phone, you rarely get nice shallow depth of field. You have to have a very specific kind of situation where that's gonna happen, but with a DSLR, you can make it happen all the time. And then one of the really big things is the fact that you can change lenses. Now, yes, like I showed you can buy lenses and put them on an iPhone, but it's not quite the same. iPhone comes with a certain lens that's built in. This one actually has two different lenses. It's built in, you're stuck with those. You can't change those out. Yes, you can add lenses on top of it, but it's not the same thing. And if you're like me and you want the best quality, then you need something like a DSLR. As of right now, a phone cannot replace DSLRs. And the one question that by far I get asked the most is, what kind of camera should I buy? People ask, I have this amount of money or this amount of money and I want these things. What kind of camera should I buy? And my answer is always the same thing. And it's to buy a camera that you can change lenses on that fits your budget. There's so many cameras out there and they're all really good, made by different companies. There's so many good options. But if you're like me and you want better quality, you should definitely invest in a DSLR. And what kind of DSLR? Well, that depends on what you're shooting. But the main thing is to buy a camera that you can change the lens on, and therefore you can kind of upgrade your camera. Because you can get really good footage with a camera that's not so expensive but has a really nice lens on it. Even if it's a cheaper lens, but it's a nice lens, something like the 50mm 1.8, really nice lens, but it's really cheap, you're gonna get really high quality footage. Whereas you could have a really expensive camera but have really crappy lenses on there, and it's not gonna look that great. So the main thing is to get a camera that you can change lenses on. It's really gonna be one of the most important things no matter what kind of filmmaking you're doing. And all the other specs, it just depends on what kind of filmmaking you wanna do, what kind of videos are you making. For example, for me right now, the 6D Mark II is the right camera for the kind of videos that I'm making. Whereas before, the C300 Mark II was my main camera because I was shooting more commercial stuff. And now for YouTube vlogging stuff, the C300 Mark II doesn't really make sense. It's big, it's bulky, it's just too much, it's overkill. So for me, I just prefer Canon cameras, but that does not mean that you have to get a Canon camera. Just get a camera that works for your budget and you can change the lenses out. That's gonna take you really far in your filmmaking career. So if you're an iPhone filmmaker or you have a Samsung or something and you're making videos on that, but you wanna step it up a little bit, what camera should you get? Well, just get any camera that you can change lenses on and you're gonna be good to go. And then you'll kind of figure out later on too, just by using different cameras, which kind of cameras work best for you. That being said, I am gonna test this sucker out and maybe I'll do a review on it. I don't know if you guys are interested. It's a little bit late for that too. But I am curious to see if the video quality is a lot better than the iPhone 6s that I've been using. I don't know, we'll see. And more importantly, how is the iPhone 10 to actually use with some new features like this whole Face ID thing. Seems to work pretty well so far. But don't worry guys, iPhones, Androids, they are not taking over yet. DSLRs are still so much better. So I highly recommend getting a DSLR if you're trying to step up your filmmaking game. And a huge thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this episode. They're an amazing platform with tons of classes. I think there's like over 18,000 classes on all sorts of stuff. Whether you're interested in filmmaking or photography, design, business, there's just so many classes for you. And the best part is that it's super affordable. Just skip a couple cups of coffee a month and you got yourself a whole bunch of classes that you can watch at any time. And you guys know I'm a huge advocate for learning online. And of course, the first 50 people get a free trial, so there's nothing stopping you from learning right now. I think the boosted season might be over. Anyways, that's it for this video, guys. Enjoy the filmmaking process and go get some of those travel feels. Off-roading.
Almost like snowboarding.